Hey y'all! I just beat all 8 episodes of Dispatch, and here's what I thought about them. Quick note about spoilers. Due to the nature of this game, it's impossible to talk about it without a few spoilers. Because of that, I will reveal a few things from episodes 1 to 4, while still not revealing much from episodes 5 to 8. I will keep all of the big reveals and moments out of the video, and I am confident that you can watch this video before playing. Telltale games were some of my favorites to play as a child. I have played practically every Telltale game besides The Wolf Among Us, funny enough, and I have fond memories with them. The Walking Dead games specifically had an impact on me, probably due to me playing them over and over again on PC, Xbox, and even on my phone before school. Minecraft Story Mode, Batman, and Tales from the Borderlands are all also games I had a fond time playing as a kid, particularly Minecraft Story Mode, which I found especially novel at the time. As time went on though, and Telltale released more and more games, it became apparent that they weren't perfect. While each of these games were good, they all fell into a pretty recognizable formula. For better and for worse, Dispatch breaks that formula. While not technically developed by Telltale, the studio that made the game, Ad Hoc, was founded by former Telltale devs, and the game was even written by some of the same people who wrote for The Wolf Among Us. These guys know what worked about Telltale games, and they know what needed changing, and I think they do achieve some successes here. While Dispatch doesn't perfectly emulate the Telltale formula and has a few big issues, I think it's a pretty good game that clearly has resonated with a lot of people. One of the best choices that was made with this game was how the game was released. The game was launched with 2 out of the 8 episodes, and for the next 3 Wednesdays, 2 more episodes were released. I think that this perfectly balances the original Telltale style releases, where 1 new episode would come out every month or so, and the modern standard with games like this, such as Life is Strange Double Exposure, where all episodes are dropped at once. By releasing 2 new episodes every week, which ends up being the equivalent of the length of 1 traditional Telltale episode, it expands the shelf life of online chatter around the game, while also reducing the wait time between episodes so the game never leaves people's feeds. It's clear that this approach worked, with Steam concurrent player numbers trending continuously upward each week as more episodes were released. This approach to release schedule mirrors the traditional television release schedule, and for good reason. Dispatch was originally going to be a TV show, and I think that you can tell. See, my biggest problem with Dispatch is that it feels like 2 different games. One is the narratively driven Telltale-style workplace comedy that the game was marketed as, and the other is a pretty boring dispatching minigame, which is stretched across all 8 episodes. It's clear that the team at Ad Hoc had a pretty cool idea for a story, but just didn't feel like it would suit their talents as a show, decided to turn it into a game, and had to throw some kind of gameplay in there. While it makes narrative sense, I think that the dispatching segments of this game really drag the whole experience down. I really do not like the dispatching segments, yet everyone else seems to disagree with me. To be honest, I'm actually really confused what I'm missing here. The dispatch minigame is just that, literally just a side activity that does not develop as the game goes on. I think that the reason people like this mode so much is because it tricks you into thinking that it actually does. As the game goes on, not only do you get access to more heroes, but you can also upgrade your current ones in many ways. You can upgrade their attributes with skill points, send them to hero training to unlock new powers, and even develop synergies with certain heroes. While I actually do like this progression loop, I don't think it actually changes the way that you play the game. All 3 of these progression systems actually do reflect player choice, which is what Telltale games are known for. Developing hero synergies encourage the player to send certain heroes together more often, which rewards you with higher chances of success as well as more ancillary dialogue between heroes. Hero training requires the player to choose only 1 hero to upgrade, which lets the player develop their favorite characters further. The skill point system is the most obvious example of this. Heroes earn XP for each success, and upon each level up, they get a skill point which can be put into one of 5 categories. Each hero can be molded into exactly how you want them. For example, I had Waterboy specialize in intelligence and vigor because I felt that it fit his character best. While this system rewards player choice and investment in their favorite characters, a lot of this system falls flat. While there is a difficulty curve, the dispatching minigame is exactly the same from episode 1 to 8. The general system is basically just each job has its own skill requirements, and you need to send the correct heroes to meet those requirements. I find that this basic requirement directly goes against all of those progression systems for one simple fact. Your favorite hero just may simply not meet the requirements for a certain job, or maybe busy/resting. After each job, a hero needs to not only return to base, but rest for a certain period of time. Because of this fact, usually you can only send who's available and best meets a job's requirements, which directly removes player agency from the system. Literally the entire game was just seeing who I had available and who best fits a job. That's it. All of these systems kind of just end up as giving the illusion of player choice. Like, yeah, I could give Punch Up the ability to not be negatively impacted by being injured, but how does that help me meet the intelligent requirement for this job? I could send Golem and Invisigal on a mission together, but if I did, then I wouldn't meet the speed requirement on this job. These boosts are really just little more than extra bonuses that could potentially help you succeed on a job, rather than essential progression systems that increase the power curve as the game goes on. The thing is, as well, because of how jobs appear randomly and are timed, you can't really plan out which heroes to send on each job. You literally just look at who you have available and send who best fits your needs. I think the reason that people like this mechanic so much is because the game does a pretty good job at tricking you into thinking it's diverse, either narratively or with unique gameplay sections. For example, in episode 3, the big choice revolves around cutting someone from the team. So each team member is competing with each other and fighting, yet it is really only in dialogue. In episode 5, there's a power outage, so the city gets broken into 3 sections, and you have to slowly regain access to each via the hacking minigame. Yet, even with all this diversity in presentation, you really are just doing exactly the same thing with the same exact approach. Send the best heroes that meet a job's requirements and are currently available. I wouldn't mind this approach as much if it literally wasn't the entire main focus of the game. I went back through my recordings, and almost 2.5 hours of a 7-hour game is doing literally the same exact thing with almost no change. Just because it's rainy and all the heroes are saying sad quips instead of normal jokey ones doesn't mean it's more fun. Besides the shift in episode 8, literally every single one of these are the exact same, and it not only hurts the pacing of each episode, but also negatively impacts the narrative. I do want to take a quick moment to talk about the hacking minigame. I think that this mode actually does do a good job at progressing as the game goes on. I do also find this mechanic to be pretty boring though, but thankfully the game does a lot of a better job at showing restraint with these sections. I think that they could be removed entirely and nothing would be lost. They are literally just here to break up the boring gameplay a little bit more. So why do I think that these dispatching sections negatively impact the story? Well, since the game is so heavily reliant on these, to the point where they take up about half the runtime of the first 4 episodes, it de-emphasizes the workplace drama aspects of the game. During these gameplay sections, the characters do indeed talk, however, I don't think they usually say anything more than quips. I wish that this dialogue could be used to develop each character, however, they just kind of serve as jokes. Like, does Invisigal saying, "I guess I'm in the area," or Sonar talking about his crypto make me like the character more? Not at all. You could argue that it reveals their personality, and you would be correct, but it doesn't help the player build a personal connection with each character for the game to take advantage of in the later episodes. I think that's why people value the bar scene in episode 5 so much, because that is one of the few portions in the game where multiple members of Z Team actually get to interact not only with Robert, but with each other. You really gain so much more about a character's personality and character with how they interact with others and react to certain situations than you do from stupid jokes in a hero Discord call. In my opinion, the Z Team is really underdeveloped for like at least half of the game, and it makes the earlier episodes just land so much worse. Take, for example, the big choice at the end of episode 3, where you choose to cut either Coop or Sonar. The entire episode leads up to this point, yet it just falls so flat because neither of these characters have interacted enough with the player for me to even care about who I cut. Coop especially is hurt by this because she literally only interacts with Robert like one single time before this choice, so why would I not cut her? If I had to choose between the hot furry guy voiced by a popular YouTuber or some girl I don't know, why would I not cut Coop? I think that's probably why they chose to have Z Team voiced by so many popular YouTubers and music artists, because the audience already has a connection with them, so the characters and by association the game can make up for the lack of development that they get. While hiring unprofessional voice actors may be good for that, as well as online buzz, I don't think that most of Z Team is particularly voice acted well, especially some standouts like Sonar and Malevola. While I like Alana Pierce, I think her performance is just a bit flat overall. Critical does a much worse job in my opinion, where he kind of just sounds super unnatural and can't put any emotion besides sarcasm in his voice. The entire main cast, however, does a fantastic job. I think Jeffrey Wright does a pretty good job as Chase. However, the real standouts are Aaron Yvette and Laura Bailey as Blonde Blazer and Invisigal, respectively. Laura Bailey has easily the best performance in the entire game, and I think the entire reason why the Invisigal character works as well as she does is because of how expressive and likable Laura makes her. Aaron Paul, on the other hand, has kind of a mixed performance for me. I think there's so many great moments with his performance, especially in the final episode. However, usually his performance is pretty flat and dry, clearly intentionally. I honestly just personally don't like performances like these, and while I don't think he did a bad job by any means, I do wish the game and Aaron went in a slightly different direction with how Robert was portrayed in these scenes. One of episode 4's major choices was seen at the end, which was who do you want to go on a date with, Blonde Blazer or Invisigal? Unlike the rest of Z Team, both of these characters get an ample amount of screen time and are thus both extremely likable characters. When this choice happens, I actually had a really hard time of choosing who I wanted to go out with. As the game continues on, however, it was clear what choice the devs wanted you to choose. While I liked Blonde Blazer, her romance gets almost completely sidelined and feels shoehorned into the game to give some sort of narrative choice to the player. At the start of episode 4, Invisigal has an on-screen sex dream between her and Robert, and then spends the rest of the episode trying to figure out whether she likes him or not. That's why by the end of the episode, it feels natural to want to go on a date with her. It also feels natural to want to do the same with Blonde Blazer, who has also been set up as a romantic partner, if not lesser so. That's why I'm so disappointed by this romance option, because even after picking to go on a date with Blazer, the game still led me into the Invisigal romance option by the end of the game. I usually try to avoid romancing in games, especially with women, because, well, I am gay after all. However, since that is such a major point of the early episodes of Dispatch, I want the person who I choose to be represented throughout the entire game. Imagine my disappointment when the game clearly wants you to pick Invisigal. It's not entirely without reason, however. Vizzy's entire arc throughout the game is learning to be a hero, and her learning to find love with Robert is clearly a big part of that. It's just, Why would the game even give me the option to romance Blazer if the game is continuously going to try and make Robert and Vizzy hook up? Multiple times throughout the playthrough, the game forcibly tries to make you choose to romance her. Not only with the sex dream at the beginning of episode 4, but a one-to-one sit-down at a bar in episode 5, a dance in episode 6, even a forced kiss in episode 7, where your two choices are either pull in or push away. Blonde Blazer does not get any choices such as these, besides a few things in the first few episodes. It's so clear to me, the Blonde Blazer was added when this was turned into a game instead of a show, just to give the player more big choices to make throughout. It's not that I think this game would be better if they had removed the Blonde Blazer romance, because I don't think that's true, but I do wish it would feel a little less one-sided. That's another thing that I think this game kind of doesn't do as well as Telltale did. The choices. People love to hate on Telltale by saying that none of their choices matter. And yeah, they don't at all, obviously. What I thought was good about the choice system in those games was that you were able to shape your character and what all the other characters thought about you while still going through the same story. While I'm not saying that you can't do this in this game, I think it's just much less of an aspect. Like, look at the choice at the end of episode 3. Who you cut literally does not matter whatsoever beyond one remaining member will be pissy at you for the next episode, and that's it. Where Telltale choices impacted characters' opinions on you and how they reacted to your actions, Dispatch's choices do little more than give the illusion of choice and impact. I think another thing that could add to this would be the traditional Telltale puzzle-solving segments. This goes back to the gameplay portions, where not only would this have helped fix the pacing a bit and break up the monotony of the dispatching, but it also would have helped make this feel more like a game rather than an interactive show. The Telltale gameplay sections would not only give optional insight into the player character, they would let the player make even more decisions on how they want to solve a problem, which helps further shape their character. As well, it would let the player choose to engage in optional side conversations, which could help develop side characters even more, as well as the main characters' relationships to them. I think this is something that Dispatch is desperately lacking, because not only do so many of the side characters need more screen time, but also it would help players shape Robert more deeply. I think the reason that this game lacks these gameplay segments and is so heavily focused on the dispatching shifts is because of budget. This is actually technically an indie game, and I think that Dispatch does a really great job at not feeling like one. Although if you actually take a closer look, you can see all the ways that the budget impacted this game. Like, look at how the actual superhero stuff is handled in this game. The reason as to why all of the action takes place on the dispatch screen rather than showing it is because they had to save money for the really big climactic moments, as well as the fantastic and consistent animation quality. Look no further than the second half of the game, which is the biggest example of this. The main villain, Shroud, appears only at the very start and end of the game. Shroud is a fantastic villain with a fantastic performance by Matthew Mercer. The problem is, though, he is severely underutilized throughout because the game must have just not had enough money to do him justice. Shroud appears in the first episode, of course, and is not really even mentioned again until episode 5, where Z-Team starts crossing paths with his crime syndicate, the Red Ring, on jobs. His appearance is honestly not very well built up to, because they just didn't have the time or money to properly do it justice. That's the thing about Dispatch, however. When they do have the time or money to do something, it's fantastic. The entire first half of the game, I was honestly bored out of my mind. I wasn't having much fun because I didn't particularly like the characters and the story was just not going anywhere. Episode 5 and 6 do start to tease a larger conflict, as well as Z-Team was given a lot more character moments. However, I still just didn't feel like I was loving this game as much as everyone else. Once episodes 7 and 8 came out, I completely changed my mind. These two episodes do a fantastic job at tying the whole game together and actually start doing all the things that I had been wanting the entire game. Unique gameplay shakeups with the dispatching, choices finally starting to matter, really fantastic looking action scenes, and even some great hero/character moments for all of Z Team. Episode 8 especially is what convinced me that this game is good. While it may not get everything right, especially for the first half, by the end, everything comes together to form a really cool and unique new superhero team with likable characters and a fantastic ending. So, why did I say that this game does a pretty good job at recreating what Telltale did if I had so many negatives to say about it? Well, it's clear to me that this game is the result of development issues. It started as a TV show, but then made the switch to a game, so they had to add all the stupid dispatching portions, as well as insert a few choices that were not a part of the original story. Being an indie game as well, they didn't have all the budget that they needed to make the exact story that they wanted, leading to some pacing and character issues in the first half. But even besides all that, the team at Ad Hoc were able to successfully recreate what was so great about Telltale in the modern day. An overall really good and well-written story with likable characters and choices that impacted the ending. While I can't say that the entire game does this, by the end of the game, all the pieces of that traditional Telltale formula come together. Add on top of that a new release schedule, and you have a game that clearly won over so many people's hearts. I think that the want for Telltale style games is clearly still out there, and I think that this game is just begging for a season 2 with an even bigger budget and extended scope. Overall, I really did like Dispatch. Well, I can't say I like the gameplay aspects of it, and it does have some story problems. It was a fun time and reminded me of my time as a child playing Telltale games. The thing is, however, I think a lot of my issues are things that many people just don't care about or agree with. Like, if you just watch this game on YouTube like a show, I bet you have a much better time because you can just skip all the stupid gameplay parts. As a show, this game works just as good because not only is the story good, but the animation is just fantastic. That's why I think people like this game so much, because it calls back to an older time and does it very well. And while I may not like it as much as everyone else, I still do have a lot of positive things to say about it and hope it will get a season 2. I recommend Dispatch. 7 out of 10. Well, y'all, that's my review of Dispatch. If you watched this far, I would really appreciate if you could like, comment, or even subscribe. That's all I have to say on Dispatch, but I do want to talk about me and my channel for a bit. So, this is my first review where I'm kind of going against what everyone is saying, and I just had to put maybe like a lot of extra thought into my script and how I'm arguing things here because I don't want people to like not like this video just because I don't agree with them. Initially, I wasn't very happy with this script, but I kind of went over it a few times and now I think it's pretty good. I did mess up a few times in my video though, but I think it still stands. With TikTok, I'm having a lot of fun on TikTok. My Call of Duty video did really well on TikTok. It's got like 1,800 views. And I downloaded TikTok Studio and I saw the like creator program, which rewards people for making more than 1-minute videos on TikTok. That would be a really good goal for me, especially while I'm still growing this YouTube thing. I just need 10,000 followers and 100,000 views. I have 130 followers and 5,000 views. So it'll give me a good goal. Another thing with TikTok is that I actually uploaded a Wicked review on there and it just only got like 150 views at this moment. It's weird. I'm not sure why that didn't work, but definitely still learning TikTok. This video is also a bit late. Like Dispatch episode 8 has been out for like probably a week and a half by the time this video will be out. So it's like I need to choose what I want to review and not to want to review. So like there's this game I played recently called Metal Garden and it came out this year, but it came out like months ago, and I'm like, I shouldn't make a quick review on this because this game is not new. It's like months old. So I kind of just like for now want to just do like newer games. And like with this one, I had to do the COD video first. So, you know, since they came out within like days of each other, like I think it's okay. But I'm really going to try to only do new games. So yeah, videos coming in the future. Destiny 2 Renegades, Routine, maybe the new Avatar DLC. I haven't decided yet. And I want to do like a ranking all the games I played this year video. And that should be it for this year, honestly. So yeah, that's all I think I have to say. Once again, if you watched this far, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, bye.